We start this hour as tensions are running high in the Middle East as US President Donald Trump announced that a ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas may be very close. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump said a possible agreement could be revealed within hours. This is what the US President said.
It's an update to the latest ceasefire agreement that Israel has agreed to, but Hamas is still considering.
Well, they're very close to an agreement on Gaza, and we'll let you know about it during the day or maybe tomorrow, and we have a chance of that. And I think we have a chance of making a deal with Iran also. They don't want to be blown up. They would rather make a deal, and I think that could happen in the not-too-distant future. That would be a great thing if we could have a deal without bombs being dropped all over the Middle East. That would be a very good thing. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
The proposed plan, known as the Witkoff deal, includes a 60-day ceasefire, the release of 28 Israeli hostages alive and dead, and over 1,200 Palestinian prisoners released in exchange. But Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz has warned Hamas to accept the deal or face annihilation. Hamas says it is still reviewing the plan and consulting with other factions in Gaza. Meanwhile, a diplomatic rift is deepening between France and Israel. French President Emmanuel Macron accused Israel of jeopardizing Western credibility. Let's listen in.
If we abandon Gaza, if we consider there is a free pass for Israel, even if we do condemn the terrorist attacks, we kill our own credibility in the rest of the world. And this is why we do reject double standard, and this is why I think it's very important in our current environment to be consistent and to follow our principles, our rules, and to consider that what is at stake is clearly the global order, and what is at stake is our credibility to protect this global order.
Well, Israel have responded, accusing Macron of waging a crusade against the Jewish state. Well, given all of these updates, there is a lot to discuss, and joining us to do so is Spencer Critchley, a communications strategist joining us from California. Spencer, thank you ever so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Let's first look at Donald Trump's comments. He says a hostage deal, an exchange for prisoners and ceasefire is very close. He expects it potentially within hours. Do you believe that Trump's optimism is well placed, given the fact that Hamas have reportedly said this deal doesn't come close to their demands?
Well, I would love to hope so, but unfortunately history teaches us otherwise. Trump, of course, is a notorious liar. And furthermore, predicting something wonderful is about to happen in the near future is something he does weekly. Typically, it's 2 weeks from now, there's going to be, complete reform of the U.S. healthcare system or some such. Now he's saying there's essentially going to be peace in the Middle East in a few hours. Now, again, it would be wonderful news if that turns out to be true, but unfortunately, Trump has earned himself a place in the world, on the world stage, as someone who simply can't be trusted to say anything honest.
Yeah, Spencer, and moving away from Trump's comments, looking at US involvement in these negotiations, of course, this plan is being coined the Witkoff deal. US involvement has been consistent. How important do you think it is that the US remain involved in these discussions, not just for the wider peace, but also given the hostage situation as well?
Well, I think it's generally very important for the United States to be involved, again, to the extent that the United States can be a trusted partner in such negotiations. And I'm sorry to keep returning to the same subject, but it really is enormously important that the Trump administration has no credibility and their motivations can't be trusted. I mean, Trump just concluded a tour of part of the Middle East, which was essentially a corruption tour, shaking down 3 of the governments there for enormous contributions to him personally, as well as to members of his family and to Steve Witkoff's family. So traditionally, of course, it's been crucially important for the United States to be involved in the Middle East and elsewhere around the world as a guarantor of that post-World War II liberal democratic world order, which for all its failings has worked better than any other system in the history of civilization.
Yes, Spencer, Defense Minister Israel Katz has said that Hamas have to sign this deal or they face annihilation. How do you think that will be viewed on the global diplomatic stage if that happens?
I mean, really, it's Katz and Trump are like two peas in a pod there. And there's Trump threatening Iran with annihilation, essentially, and threatening to be dropping bombs all over the Middle East, while the Israeli defense minister is threatening to annihilate Hamas in Gaza. It's just incredibly counterproductive and dangerous, and furthermore stupid. The idea that the United States could somehow achieve any useful objective, set aside the morality at stake here, the idea that the United States could achieve any strategic objective by conducting massive bombing campaigns, surely we've moved beyond that. I mean, this is essentially the international strategy of a drunk in a bar.
Spencer, let's look now at some of the condemnation that Israel has been receiving amid some form of aid blockade, of course a full blockade in place around the enclave for across around 11 weeks. We've also, of course, as you've mentioned, seen bombing, displacement within Gaza. This rift between Israel and France has got worse in recent days. What's the significance of Western nations calling out Israel amidst what humanitarian groups say is famine and starvation on a huge scale?
Yes, well, this also mirrors the situation that I just referred to, where Trump and Israel, at least the Netanyahu administration, are sounding so similar and turning themselves into international pariahs. The strength of the United States and the strength of Israel, which is considerable and very impressive, of course, for such a small country, is ultimately based on its values. And once Israel or the United States abandons those values, they become just another brawler in a global war of all against all. To refer to history once again, we need only look at the history of Europe, which was torn by wars for century after century after century, until finally, after World War II, the Western world settled on a better way of relating to each other. And if we abandon the values that have made that post-war order possible, we go back to that situation, except on a global scale, of everybody thinking that they're going to somehow prevail by being even more aggressive and even more violent against the others. And of course, surely by now history has taught us that that is not only morally horrific, but simply does not work.
Yes, Spencer Critchley, thank you for that. You will be staying with us as we stay